All right, welcome back. There you have it. Some of the sensitization still ongoing, and the CBN says there's much more. They've deployed directors across the 36 states and the FCT to up the ante, so to speak. Now, I've been joined in the studio by policy analyst Dr. Law Mefo. He joins me now to break down the whole of this issue and, shed more light on it from different perspectives. Thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you.
Good afternoon.
Thank you.
All right, let's start with, like I said, is the issue now is breaking down what people see as the political aspects. Even Nigerians on the streets, they all have their thoughts as to what they think is happening. But we'll start somewhere now. We'll start with the ruling party, the All Progressive Congress, the APC. Just about last week, we saw that the presidential candidate, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, gave a speech at Ogun State at his campaign ground, which was sort of similar to a speech he gave in Ogun during the primaries. And he alleged that some persons, he didn't mention names anyway, but people have their rhetorics, that even if, to quote him, he says, even if you hold the Naira, even if you hold the fuel, we will still win. And people are wondering, who is he talking about? Why is he talking about these things, and how does it affect politics in any way? So what do you make of the matter? Why would the presidential candidate of the ruling party make such complaints?
Well, for me, Bola Ahmed Tinubu insinuating that the Naira redesign policies targeted at him is rather unfortunate. I don't think so, and it shouldn't be. And because the goal of the policy is very simple. The goal of the policy is to have the Naira return to the banking hall, hall and the vaults. And it's important because that is where they belong. And if Tinubu is saying that he is unduly suffering from the policy, it means that he is hoarding Naira notes in his house. And of course, that reminds me, if you recall not long ago, which election cycle was that? When we saw bullion vans, heading to his house, and only last week, one of his spokespersons came up to say that the bullion vans actually strayed away from the banks where they were destined, and they strayed into Bola Tinubu's house. It's laughable. So the point I'm trying to make is that what his position, his outburst, sent across to me as a signal is that he's been keeping too much of the bank notes in his house. He shouldn't be doing that. They don't belong there. And of course, if the money legitimately belongs to him, CBN is also saying that he can return any quantity to the banks and have the same exchanged, right? Yes, there is a ceiling. There's a ceiling you are not supposed to exceed as an individual, and as a corporate organization, there's also a ceiling. But that doesn't mean you can't withdraw more, but you pay, some charges on it. Yeah. So if these provisions are made by the CBN, I don't see why Tinubu should be complaining. Because you can return no matter the quantity to the banks as long as it is legitimate. You return to the banks and have new notes withdrawn from banks. And if you go above the ceiling set out by the CBN, you pay some surcharge, for it. I think that is fair enough. And I also think that the time set out by the CBN for individuals and corporate organizations to return their old notes to the banks, I think the time frame is quite okay. Because before this recent extension by 10 days, I calculated and came away with a gap, a space of 90 days to 100 days since the announcement came. I believe it's long enough for people to really transact and get the issue sorted out, no matter the amount involved. However, Nigerian banks are the ones frustrating the policy, as far as I am concerned. up till this last Friday, I still got old Naira notes from the banks. This past Friday. So if banks are still giving old Naira notes, even before the extension was announced yesterday, it meant that the banks never really wanted the policy to succeed.
What do the banks gain in this regard?
Well, if you understand the way the banking industry works in Nigeria, it works, like a cartel. It's a cartel, and they work hand in hand with these politicians. The politicians don't want the policy to succeed, so they'll be working hand in gloves with the banks, and the banks, of course, the bank managers, may also be holding the currency, the currency notes, and exchanging for a percentage with these same politicians. I read somewhere that I think either EFCC or ICPC arrested some new currency traders. So some people are already.
Yes.
So how did they access the currency they are selling? If they didn't get it from the CBN, they certainly got it from the banks. And it means that they are trading in the new currency rather than exchange it for the old ones with the Nigerians who are now stranded. If you go to everywhere, you find the ATM, you see an obscene length of queue, where Nigerians are struggling to access the new Naira note through their ATM dispensing machines. It should not be. Banks should be over the counter exchanging, the notes. Even on a Sunday, there is no need to even go on holidays now. The traditional 4 p.m. closing hour shouldn't be. This is an emergency. They should work at extended length of time, and also over the weekends. And the bank administration should realize how urgent this matter is. And again, the CBN also has not done well where it comes to publicity. Yes, they gave an ample space of time for people to exchange the old Naira notes. But the question is, how many Nigerians we're actually aware of this? You see, 70% of Nigerians are rural. They live in semi-urban and rural communities. You'll be surprised in many states of the north. A place like Borno State, I was reading somewhere that in Borno State you have, I think, 21 local governments. Either 21 or 28, I'm not sure now. But only about 5 or 6 have banking services. This is an example. And Borno State is not alone in that. So if you go to many other states in Nigeria, especially up north, you don't find, banks. What that means is that people who are in a whole local government where you don't have banking services will have to really travel longer distances to be able to get these transactions done. CBN ought to factor such cases into the policy implementation. The policy is good. I must give it to them, because if you have 70% of the old currency in the people's hands and private homes, then there is something really serious about that.
Right,
ordinarily, what it should be, what should be in circulation, should be the neighborhood of 30% of the overall currency volume. Shouldn't be more than that. What we have now is a means-ending version.
All right, let's just take a look now at the change in, will I say tone, or perhaps not tone, in the message between just some days before and then yesterday from the central bank governor. We'll take a look at what he said earlier when he was getting very close to the deadline, and he said there was no going back, and then what he said afterwards. Let's take a look at CBN Governor Emefiele speak now.
He says reports suggest that many people want the deadline to be shifted for reasons ranging from their inability to gain access to the new notes or deposit their old currencies. I must say here that unfortunately I don't have. He says reports suggest that many people want the deadline to be shifted for reasons ranging from their inability to gain access to the new notes or deposit their old currencies. I must say here that unfortunately I don't have good news for those who feel that we should shift the deadline. My apologies. The reason is because, just like the president had said on more than 2 occasions, and even to people privately, that for us 90 days, in fact, we feel is 100 days is enough for anybody who has money or the old currency to deposit it, the money in the banks. And we took every measure to ensure that all the banks were open or remain still open to receive all old currencies. 100 days, we believe, is more than adequate. We called on the banks. We said, not only are we requesting you to extend your banking hours so that you can receive old currencies, but we're also asking you to keep your doors open on Saturdays. Ladies and gentlemen, the banks did not have any reason to even keep their banking halls open on Saturdays. Neither did they see the kind of rush that they anticipated. Oh, there were normal people who came in to deposit money into the banks, and maybe in the course of time, I'll also give you details about how much had come in. So we do not see any reason to begin to talk about a shift because people could not deposit their old monies into their banks. Following: 1, a 10-day extension of the deadline from January 31, 2023 to February 10, 2023 to allow for collection of more old notes legitimately held by Nigerians and achieve more success in cash swap in our rural areas, in our villages and communities, after which all old notes outside the CBN loses their legal tender.
So this change of currency, I think there will be people a lot of money. But time has been given from October to December, 3 months. Is enough, whatever money you have, to get it changed through a legal system. So I don't know why people are complaining about it.
So despite the complaint, there's no going back on the policy?
No, there's no going back. There's no going back. My aim is to make sure that Nigerians believe that we respect them as an administration. So Nigerians should vote for whoever they like from whichever party. Nobody will be allowed to mobilize resources and thugs to intimidate people in any constituency. That's what I want to go down in.
All right, that's the CBN governor there, and the president, President Muhammadu Buhari. You saw the switch where he says the president and himself agreed that the time is enough, and then there's a pushing of deadline. I will go back to what the president said, especially his last words in that snippet there. But let's take a look at what the change in stance, because a lot of persons believe that he truly wouldn't, seek for an extension. Do you think this is an admission that they know that, or on their part, they might have, fumbled the rollout? Because, like you said, you said last week, you are still seeing.
On Friday, I got old.
Yes, even today, people are still queuing, and some are they're still having these issues. So, could the fault also be with the CBN? They did not anticipate how much they would have to do.
Well, like I said, I believe that the sabotage is coming from the banks, the banking system itself. No matter the amount you roll out, the politicians will collude with the banking managers, the bank managers to exchange.
So don't you think it has already been defeated? If that's
yes,
the
it
case?
is. If that is the case, it's already a problem. Yeah, because if you listen to the president, he brought in the reason for this Naira redesign. He believes that the money that is outside the banking system, outside in people's hands and private vaults, may be deployed for voter trade in 2023. And that's precisely the interest of the president, to ensure that that doesn't happen. So if you have bank managers who are willing tools in the hands of these same politicians, who are ready to carry the new Naira notes to their houses, for exchange for as much as 10% of the volume they exchange. That is things we found out. And as journalists, people should also try and investigate some of these things. Through trading in this same new currency rather than exchange with, for the old. Because I told you about the report of EFCC arresting.
It's the DSS.
So it's out there in the open. How did they access the new currency? And, bank customers, depositors, go to the banks and they can't get the new notes. Up to now, I'm not sure that the new notes can be accessed over the counter. I'm not sure. I haven't tried it this week. But I will try to see if I can get new notes over the counter. Deliberately, I want to see if that would happen. Because in the last 1-2 weeks that I tried, I got old notes. So you can see why the CBN is constrained. It's obvious to them that a lot of Nigerians are still stranded. Go all around the city, you find the long queues I talked about in every ATM dispensing point. You find it all around. If it is like that in Abuja, I suspect it's the same story all over the country. And if that is the case, it means that many more Nigerians still have not been able to exchange their old notes. So the extension has become only necessary. And again, I also said that I think that the CBN was late, with a public enlightenment campaign. And I have often believed that Nigerian population is up to 70% rural, and many of them are not bankable. They are not within, the banking system. That means they are still keeping, their money with themselves and not depositing in the banks. Even such monies will also have to be exchanged for the new ones. Otherwise, their legal tender status will be lost. In fact, could have been lost even today, if the extension hadn't come. So what I think should be done is for the CBN to really take this little window approved for them by the president to do the needful and get Nigerians to exchange. And the measure of the directors and all the management cadre being sent around the country to help out in this. I don't know how far that can go. I don't know how many CBN staffers we have on the whole that will be able to deal with well over 170 million rural Nigeria. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
I don't know. I really don't know. But I had thought that the cash swap policy would really go beyond the CBN staff. Yes, I had MFL say something about 30,000, maybe ad hoc staff that will help. But I don't still think that number is adequate. I was thinking they would use existing outlets already, like the people that run the POS. They are well over 1.3 million around the country. That is something that CBN, I believe, has overlooked. If they had deployed the POS operators that are found everywhere, I think they may be able to reach, the people faster. After all, Nigerians know these people already in their localities, and finding a way of using them as agents for the CBN could have really worked. I don't know why they didn't think in that direction. It could have worked, and they can do this for some talking. You make a bit of business out of it. It's not just, it shouldn't be seen as a patriotic duty, because it is not. It's job that they are going to do for CBN. Because CBN is actually, in terms of the level of manpower needed for this kind of a dispensation, CBN will not have that kind of staff. It's not possible. So, but you have POS operators. POS operators, if they think through it as a deployment means, may be able to be one way they can reach the people easily, even with the basic information. Why I said this is, I'm not aware of any rural Nigeria that does not have at least one POS point where people go to get cash, right? Transfer money and all that. That is the surest penetration that will help the CBN deal with this matter and ensure maximum success rate that is expected. And one more thing the CBN is not doing, which is actually worrisome, is not being able to wield the big stick with the banks. It's obvious the banks are sabotaging the CBN policy. The implementation is almost a sham, going by what the banks are doing at the moment. Why dispense the old note now over the counter and even through the ATM machines? It may be going on, but I know that up till last Friday, I received old notes over the counter. I don't want to mention the bank, but I expect that the CBN should be on top of it. Well, last time I was here, I talked about, collaborating with the DSS, ICPC, EFCC. This is the time to help the CBN. They need to be in all the banks across the country. How many branches do we really have, as a matter of fact, that cannot be covered? All the branches of all the banks in Nigeria can be covered. It's possible. Covered by the fraud unit of the police, the EFCC, the ICPC, and the DSS. The reason for this is to ensure that those branches are actually complying with the directive. It's not going on at the moment. And if you deliver new currency to the banks, and the banks turn around and carry the same new currency wholesale to the big politicians and still keep recycling the old Naira notes, it's a direct sabotage. That is the point I'm making. And I haven't seen much of CBN response as far as this is concerned. And this is now forcing an extension. Because if the banks all the while, in the last even 1 month, if all the banks have been exchanging, new notes for the old, by now we will not have the kind of crisis we have on our hands. Because if you look around, if you go to the ATM dispensing machines, the evidence that Nigerians are still not accessing the new currency is there. So what do? Maybe a bit late, but not too late. Let these suggestions, these recommendations, let them be put into the mix and they're deployed for a better result. It's not okay science. I don't know why we're treating it as such.
All right. There are also speculations that the restrictions around the rollout might have been responsible. I think some of these are unconfirmed, so let's not go into them. But let's talk about this extension. Do you think the 10-day extension is enough for politicians to do damage? When having a conversation, people say that the only extension that would favor politicians truly is an extension after the elections.
That's correct.
I wonder, is that true?
That's true.
This extra week would be
enough? Vote trade is the issue here. Vote trade is real. Okay? Politicians rely on vote trade. They buy the votes. That's what they do. I have witnessed it. So it's not speculation. Everybody knows it. It has become a whole industry. People, even the electorate, look forward to an election cycle to get something of politicians. That's the point here. So you can see in their desperation, a motion was moved, saying that the deadline should be extended from 31st of January, right, to 31st of June. I recall, when I saw that 31st of June, I remember the song we sang as, children, 30 days out September, April, June, and November. It struck me that there is no 31st in June. So even themselves, a whole National Assembly, they did not realize the fact that there is no. So you can see how desperate they have become to the point that they can't even check out the dates. Now they want it moved to 31st of June. That does not exist. Do you understand that? Why are they doing that? Because they want to have access to the money they have at hand.
All right, Dr.
To be able to deploy same to elections.
All right, let's just quickly hear from this caller. Good afternoon.
Yeah, this is Kaftan.
Yes, good afternoon. What's your name and where are you calling from? Hello, you're on. We lost that call.
You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So certainly they have so much, so much at hand, right? And they deploy same during elections. That has been the practice since 1999. And the impact of, vote buying on the outcome of elections in Nigeria, it has actually been significant. Otherwise, it will not be a recurring decimal in terms of recognition of factors that taint the outcomes of elections in Nigeria. So I believe they should be stopped. They should not be allowed to have access to such obscene money. It will mess up this 2023.
All right, that's fair enough. Good afternoon. What's your name and where are you calling from?
Hello?
Good afternoon. What's your name and where are you calling from?
I'm calling from Ebonyi State.
Your name, please.
My name is Paul.
All right, Mr. Paul, go ahead.
Okay. I said my name is Mr. Paul.
Go ahead, please.
I am Paul Chukuma here. So I want to thank the anchorman. Oh my dear, I want to thank the anchorman of studio.
Thank you.
Because he's making silent point concerning what is happening. And I want to let the central bank know, unless they are proactive towards their intention, everything will be marred by these politicians that are always dragging back the moving hand of the nation. They have good intention by changing the currency. They enable them checkmate these money bags that carry around money in bullion van, give it to people. But if they relax on their points, it means they will now return back to status quo, thereby disqualifying their intentions to the abyss. So what they will do now is to sanction, make sure proper sanction is sanctioned against every commercial bank that will refuse to dispense new notes. And not just talking. Talking is good, but action is more than talking.
Correct.
So I don't believe in Nigeria today that people will listen more to actions and words. When you say something and fail to do it, it means you are joking. So the very serious note, and then the EFCC and the ICPC will move to the polling centers during the election time. Arrest anybody, any group of person, no matter who you are, who is giving out money to people. We don't need money now. We need good intention for the country. We need the country to progress. We need job for the youth. We need everything that is good for this country. We are very rich to continue to be ruled, to be ruled by good people, but we have them. But they refuse to come up because of the bad people beneath the elections. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you. Thank you very much for calling.
Kaftan is a good television.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Paul Chukuma. See, the point he made is the same point I was trying to underscore. You see, for me, if I were MFLA, right, any verified report of any ATM dispensing old Naira note, that branch will be shut down for the residue of my tenure as a CBN governor. If you don't bear your fangs now, this policy will be messed up. Any bank, any branch, it may not be the entire, bank itself, but any branch that fails to, dispense new Naira notes, both over the counter and through the ATM machines, should be shut down. There is no need for it.
Do you think he doesn't do this perhaps because some fault lies with the CBN itself?
Look, I don't see how the CBN should be blamed for a bank branch that is still dispensing old Naira notes. If the CBN has not delivered the new Naira, then it is the fault of the CBN. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
But CBN, Mayfield keeps saying that they have delivered enough to go around for now. Do you get the point? And you see, what the banks ought to be doing at the moment is not returning the old Naira notes to the circulation. What they ought to be doing is to tell the people that there is no new note. That way, the blame goes back to the CBN.
That's fair.
Do you get the point?
Yeah.
It is as simple as that. There is no new Naira note available. Nigerians would say that you're here to take your money, you can't because there's no new note. You get the point. But receiving old Naira notes, when you are on top of a deadline to return, it means that you still have to return that same money you collected from the banks. What I got from the banks just last Friday, part of it is still with me. And if this extension didn't come, maybe part of it will be lost on me, because I wasn't able to return it, and yet I got it from the banks when I ought to have received the new Naira notes. That's the point I'm making. So it's not rocket science. I keep saying there must be a way. If the banks don't have new Naira notes, let them tell Nigerians and blackmail the CBN that you haven't brought the new Naira notes, and you are blaming us for not dispensing same. But MFLA is consistent, saying that the new Naira notes are there with the banks. If the new Naira notes are there with the banks and the banks are not giving the customers, then something is fishy somewhere. It's either MFLA is lying or the banks are lying. It can be both ways. You get the point. And like I said, I suspect that enough has been sent to the banks. But the banks are trading in it. Yes, they are trading in it. They are taking large volumes of new Naira notes to their big-time customers, especially politicians, and collecting 10%. I wanted to prove me wrong. EFCC should go after these people. They need to see, look, EFCC needs to shut down their offices and relocate to all the banks for the next 2 weeks.
So basically, the hoarding has begun again.
The whole thing that we have returned to status quo as far as I am concerned, because if the bank managers would collect the allocation and send to their big time customers to in exchange of the old ones and collect 10%. Do you understand that? It's a direct economic sabotage. People like that should be in jail.
Right.
And very simple update. Very after this.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Yeah, what's your name and where are you calling from? You're onto the Polity. You're onto the Polity. What's your name and where are you calling from?
Am I saying to Kaftan TV?
Yes, you are. You are.
Yes, my name is Alaji Oba from Ilorin.
All right, go ahead.
Alaji Oba from Ilorin, Polity.
All right, Alaji Oba, go ahead.
Are you hearing me?
We can hear you clearly. Go ahead.
Okay. Issue of this Naira change. Are you hearing me?
We can hear you. Please turn down your TV set.
I want to ask why government didn't release 200 Naira and 500 Naira. There's any banking you can go. There's any banking you can go. You can see 200 Naira, 500 Naira. Even though you can't see 100 Naira. This thing is very difficult for those less people. Because it's up 1,000 Naira is for this month. Once they can't, you can't see 5 Naira, 10 Naira, 20 Naira. It's not good. Government doesn't help us at all. Let them release 500 Naira, 200 Naira, 100 Naira, even though 50 Naira for us. That 1,000 Naira, it doesn't mean anything. If any bank you go, it's 1,000 Naira. 1,000 Naira, why? So thank you.
Thank you for calling.
Do you get the point?
That's
very simple update. Because when a CBN releases money to banks, right, as the banker's banker, the paper trail is there. The amount received by the branch in question is known, and you should be able to verify what they did with the money. Do you get my point?
Yeah.
You should be able to verify it. That is what audit is about. Why are they not doing that at the moment? So it's not rocket science, like I said. You don't need to be a banker. It's ordinary bookkeeping. You collected 10 million new Naira notes. We want to see how you dispensed it. 2 days after, we discovered that the money is gone, vaporized. How? Who collected it? We want to see, because the transactions should show clearly, on your ledger, in the papers. At the end of business, every day, you close up, you know how much left, how much came in. So a look at their vaults will confirm whether or not what I have alleged is going on. Because if the old Naira notes are still what you have going back to the people, the bankers should be checked. It's either they are trading at our expense, or the CBN never really release the money as they claim. This has to be verified.
That seems very straightforward, and I do hope it's taken into account. So finally, on this issue, before we move over to the other major issue of forced scarcity and the politicization of it, do you foresee that politicians might have played a fast one? Do you think this would, at the end of the day, affect them? Because from what the allegations you've made now, it seems as though they've already circumvented the system. We've been seeing some, this is social media anyway, but on social media you see certain VIPs at parties, at events, some of them passing money to, people at political events, and they all seem to not be affected by this scarcity of new Naira notes. So is it possible that it has already been defeated, and what's going to happen with the old notes is still going to happen? That's
my ultimate fear, because the intention of the president will be defeated completely if this is allowed to happen. And if the bank managers, like I said, they collect as much as 10% for the exchange, they take the money to them. They don't even allow them to come to the bank.
I think I should read out a report or a statement by a reporter. Or before that, let's take this call. Hello, good afternoon. You are on to the Polity. Hello. Can you hear us? Yeah, you might have to speak a little bit louder. We can't hear you very clearly. Hello.
It's really faint.
Yes. Hello. Hello.
Hello. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon.
My name is Adekaye Mustafa from Osun State.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Go ahead. Go ahead, please.
Adekaye Mustafa. What we are discussing here, the topic you brought up today.
Yes, we can hear you.
The topic you brought up today is very, very important. These things, the thing about this new money is affecting the grassroots more than even the common. Let me tell you something. The old people, they are unable to go to the market to purchase the goods they need. Teachers are unable to maintain the classroom due to the children crying about money. Almost all the system will collapse if the federal government did not see to the issue of bank managers selling these new notes to the politicians. It's very, very affecting.
Right.
Not only the banks, even the people as managers. This morning, I went there to collect just 5,000 naira. I was told that they would deduct 500 naira as charges.
Sorry, what state did you say you're calling from?
I'm calling from Osun State.
Osun State, okay.
Yeah, this is very, very affecting the economy of Nigeria. Not only in Nigeria, but the grassroots people are more into trouble. They are more affected. And the issue of no Naira note, let me say, I don't know how to call it. The issue of cashless policy. How do you want the elderly ones, the aged women and men, the farmers to cope? Many of them, they did not know how to operate phone. Some of them are not even having phone. If government wants to change this money, I really appreciate the governor of the central bank and the president for even adding 10 days. But this 10 days is not enough. And there is a saying about Nigerians. Nigeria has good planning, but there's no monitoring strategy in place.
That's it.
It's easily affecting us. What people knows about now is that federal government released 1 trillion for how many people? More than 200 million Nigerians. So if that is happening, we need to work on that. If government really want to help the masses, they have already disbursed this money to the banks. Let the government choose agents to supervise how this money is being distributed.
All right. Thank you. Thank you very much for calling.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for calling.
I'm calling from Osun State.
All right. Thank you so much for calling and for sharing your experience. Let me read out another one. It seems as though these things are starting to coalesce. This is from a correspondent, a journalist. He says, this morning, Abuja POS operators within Wuye axis are charging 10% for the new notes. So 15,000 Naira is 1,500, then 10,000 Naira is 1,000 Naira. He says, I've tried in like 5 different spots. It's the same story. They said, and I think this is the key part here, they said they had to bribe bank cashiers to get the new notes through.
Do you see where we are?
This is the issue.
The same points I've been making. It is the banks that are sabotaging this whole process. Because they do as they like. They still dispense the old notes. If you want the new one, then you have to part with something before you can access the new Naira notes. This is absurd. It is. In fact, they should go out of their way to encourage their customers to bring in their old notes. But rather than encourage them, they are putting hurdles on their way. Many people will be trapped in this process, and at the expiration of this new deadline, still left with the old notes because they weren't able to exchange same. Like I said, up to 70% of the Nigerian nation state is rural. You can calculate it. Because if you reckon with the fact that the urban centers are essentially the local government headquarters, right? They are only 774. And of course, the 36 state capitals and FCT, these are urban centers. Put together, that is 1,000. And you have 8,812 wards. What I mean is that between 6,000 and 7,000 wards in Nigeria are rural.
Well,
do you understand that?
Right.
And many of them are not bankable.
All right.
We need to put that into consideration while postulating some of these policies.
All right. I was going to end that with the call, but we've lost that caller. Let's move over to the next part, which is the issue of fuel queues. To kick off that part of the conversation, let's take a look at what Nigerians are saying, what Nigerians are going through. We went out to the streets of Abuja and we got some comments from Nigerians who had been caught in fuel queues, trying to get fuel with the scarcity and all of that. And let's hear from them. When we return, we'll see how it's being seen in the political scene. We'll be right back.
Been on the queue since around 11 o'clock on the queue, and now this is almost after 12. Outside this queue, getting fuel, just maybe you just have to like go for black market to buy fuel if you are in haste to go to somewhere, because I believe you will not like to waste your time to join the queue again.
Seriously, as all can see, the fuel scarcity that is very scarce. But anywhere you be on queue where they are selling it, if you be on queue 1 hour, 30 minutes or 30 minutes to 1 hour, you can get it. And the increment of the fuel, we the masses are crying to the government. And God has blessed this country with. And really the masses are really suffering of the fuel increment and fuel scarcity. And if you can see, we being queue. And now I'm inside the free station to get it.
As of now, the increase, in short, let me say like last week, it was like 195 Naira for the increase. And the increase, I've not seen any change, because the increase I don't know whether they just feel like increasing the fuel by themselves. there's no change, and you see now the cost of transportation now is worst. Where you have to like go for like 100 naira, you have to like double it. Maybe some people don't even like plan for it, you understand? So you have to like double everything you want to go, anywhere you want to go now.
From beginning, we were thinking that maybe this administration will make us happy, but unfortunately, from since last week, January till now, nothing has been done about this fuel. Today we face scarcity. Tomorrow we think it is over. Next tomorrow we'll come back again. So my sisters, we are really tired about this country. Now I have to be in office now because of one or two things that I ran out now to just go and look for fuel. Yesterday my car is not fixed yesterday, traps, because there's no chance for me to go out and look for fuel. So my sister, it's too painful.
It's affecting me sometimes if I did not get it in time. It's affecting my work. And I will really say that the government should look into it.
All right, those were Abuja residents speaking on fuel scarcity. Now let's take a look at what is being said, by politicians. We'll start with a tweet by Dayo Israel. This is the APC National Youth Leader, a very strong supporter of the APC presidential candidate. He says, over the last 7 years, we have always had fuel availability every Christmas. It was even a major scorecard that December fuel crisis came to an end. How come the December before election suddenly fuel became scarce? Reason am. To make APC look bad to Nigerians, internal saboteurs. Let's move over to Femi Fani Kayode, former minister and also an APC member. This is in line with the Naira redesign. He says, the president has ordered the deadline for the submission of old Naira notes to be extended. This will lessen tension and pain of the people and strengthen the democratic process and legitimacy of the coming election. This proves that Asiwaju's comments in Abeokuta were appropriate and our collective warnings were taken seriously. Thankfully, we have a listening and receptive president. Moving on to the next set of tweets, he says the APC cannot be divided or defeated by a group of PDP sympathizers embedded in certain institutions in the system, fighting for the interests of Atiku and his carpet badgers. He says, we know who you are and you will soon be exposed publicly and your collaborators by name. Before we head more into this, let's hear from this caller and then we dissect some of these comments. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. What's your name and where are you calling from?
My name is Benga. I'm calling from Kogi State.
All right, Mr. Benga, go ahead.
Okay. This morning, that was it's a great problem to Nigerians now. It's a great problem in the sense that, well, like in my bank now, Unity Bank, I save the money. The app is not good. When I want to transfer, I cannot transfer the money to anybody. I went back there to tell them, now that I cannot transfer, they are telling me the app is having problem. Then give me my card. They say they cannot give old cash again. They cannot give new notes. So it's a problem. It's as if there's sabotage somewhere. Because you cannot get the money you took to bank, you cannot get it now, you cannot transfer it again. So as customer on my net saying they want to collect money, I can't transfer to them and I cannot collect money from bank. So it's a great problem to us.
Oh, so sorry about that. Thank you. Thank you for calling and sharing your experience. I think another issue with the cashless policy is the framework and how it works. So back to this issue. I want to start with the youth leader's comment specifically. He says that December this doesn't normally happen. And the question you ask now is, does it mean that previous governments, perhaps this APC government was also planning to, what they do is deceive Nigerians during these periods because they know they might be more in need and then they show their true colors when they've won the election. It seems as though that is what he's implying. And he's implying that his government he supports, doesn't even have that much effort to put into deceiving Nigerians. And I'm wondering, is this how it works? Is forced to say something that is political?
Well, you see, any member of the APC now will be finding it very difficult to defend the failure, the colossal failure of the APC, federal government. It's really unfortunate because Nigerians looked in the direction of President Muhammadu Buhari to do some, fundamental changes, alterations in the Nigerian national life and give us a new lease of life. But he has not been able to do this on all counts. And you see, this issue of fuel subsidy is one aspect that we had expected that Buhari should be able to really deal with. In during the Obasanjo regime as a military head of state, Buhari was petroleum minister. And that was when the current refineries, the 4 refineries we have in the country, were constructed. That means Buhari himself has been involved in the petroleum sector for quite some time, even as a serving military officer. And he ought to have done better than he has done in this energy sector, particularly as it has to do with petroleum. How much does it take to build a brand new refinery? It's a very simple question. How long does it take to build a brand new refinery? The amount and the time it takes. Do you understand that? And you have been spending trillions on subsidy. The trillions you have spent on subsidies in Nigeria to give us fuel that we can't even get at the moment could have given Nigeria, well over 4 brand new refineries. Do you understand that? What that means is that you ask yourself, how come the Buhari administration that actually promised to build new refineries has not been able to put up even one? And the president took it upon himself to assume the office of petroleum minister in the last 7.5 years. And things have only degenerated. You remember when the administration came in 2015, fuel was going for how much? For less than 100 naira. I think 97 naira or something like that. Today, Nigerians are buying fuel for 300 naira. They can't even find. With the president as the petroleum minister, which in itself is an aberration. You are the president, and you also took over the petroleum ministry, and you can't provide fuel. You have failed as a minister. I don't know if you understand what I'm saying. Because you took that responsibility upon yourself. You have failed as a minister. The story that PDP sympathizers in their government are the ones sabotaging them and making them look bad is a very lame, lazy excuse. Because if you have somebody in place and the individual is sabotaging your policies, you boot the person out of that place. Is it not how it works? So if you have PDP sympathizers in the government and they are sabotaging Buhari's efforts and you still keep them, that is still part of your failure.
All right, just a moment. Let's quickly hear from the caller. I'll just hold that thought. Good afternoon. Hello. Good afternoon. All right.
It's still part of the failure of the government.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. How are you?
I'm good. This is the Polity. What's your name and where are you calling from?
My name is Mohammed Yusuf Ahmed. I'm calling from Kaduna.
All right, Mohammed Yusuf. Please go ahead.
So I want to comment on what you are talking about. Nigerians are suffering. Really, Nigerians are suffering. And I want to add my comments to what the APC National Youth Leader talked about. Even one of their spokesperson, Femi Kayode, and the presidential candidate of the APC. I will agree with them that creating the chance of Asiwaju. Of course, I agree 100%, but not in the PDP, but within the APC, within their political party. Exactly, I agree with that, but within their political party. And there is a reason for anybody to suffer Nigerians just because of this politics and something like that. It is very, very wrong. You know, all the suffering that Nigerians are facing, I'm telling you, just because of the interest of few people, just few. These people should not suffer us because of Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu. These people, they should allow the election to hold. Anybody win, he will be the next president of this country. But our people are suffering. I'm telling you, all this Naira redesigning and all what Emefiele has said are all politics. And Emefiele, don't forget, Emefiele tried to contest in APC, but
as we lost that call from Mr. Mohammed.
Yes, the Naira redesign or recoloration, it has political undertone. There's no doubt about that. The president made it very clear that, look, this policy, we will use it to stop vote trade.
But then he says at the end of that particular clip, he says, so Nigerians can vote for whoever they want in whichever party.
Correct. That's what he said.
Do you think the APC candidate takes offense to that? Should, people expect that he should be all out. People reference former President Obasanjo's time where he campaigned as though he was coming for a third term when he was campaignning for
the situation is different. The situation is different.
So do you think the president
Obasanjo was allowed by the PDP to select his successor?
So does that mean that President Buhari has not selected his successor?
The APC governors did not allow Buhari to pick his successor. That's the truth. And you see, if Buhari was given the opportunity to select his successor and he chose Bola Ahmed Tinubu, he would certainly take him around the country because he is duty bound to deliver him. But you don't expect Buhari to go out of his way to deliver Tinubu when he had no hands in his emergence. To be fair to the president, all the governors, all of them, without exception, choose their successors. Why did they allow the president to have a hand in selecting who succeeds him? He was not given that. And then for them to take that part, they should be able to deliver Tinubu without the president. And that is what this whole thing is turning out to be. Since you choose him, deliver him. And Buhari has made the country a promise. Level playing ground, free and fair election, choose whoever you want. They actually played into the hands of the president. Because by forcing him out of the process of picking who he wanted, who we all suspected was the Senate President Ahmed Lawan. Why do I say so? He was announced as the consensus candidate by the party's national chairman. He actually, went through certain processes before he was taken to Buhari as a consensus candidate. But the governors revolted. So that's what has happened. So Buhari decides to play neutrality. Let him be neutral. And I think it is played to advantage because Nigerians now are free, to choose who they want. And the president is going the extra mile to ensure that this becomes the case eventually by saying, look, you can't even buy votes. So if you're stashing money somewhere in the house, bring it back into the bank, so that we'll be able to monitor the releases. If you think you have to blackmail Nigerians with money in 2023, you have another thing coming. I believe that that policy of the president is quite noble, is quite patriotic. And if the president is allowed to carry that promise to its logical conclusion, the person that emerges, even if it is Tinubu that emerges, it will be truly the will of Nigerians. You know, that is what it ought to be in a normal democracy. But in the past, it wasn't so. We saw President Obasanjo in 2003, you know, saying that his own re-election was a do-or-die affair. That was what he said. Those were his words. And he imposed his successor in the person of Umaru Musa Yar'Adua.
Right, but the question now is, let's just take this call. Then we'll talk about, you know, reciprocity in politics.
Yes.
All right. Good afternoon. This is the Polity. What's your name and where are you calling from?
Hello.
Good afternoon. We can hear you. What's your name and where are you calling from? Hello. Can you hear us?
My name is Chukuma.
All right. Please go ahead. We can hear you.
My name is Chukuma.
All right, Mr. Chukuma, go ahead.
Yeah, okay, my dear. I want to talk about. Yes, I want to talk about the governance of this country. Let me just please say something. You see, the president, we were looking at him from the perception of 1984, when he was the military head of state, and Diabo was working with him. But today, the different Febuary we see on platform. And on a very serious note, I want to let the country know, in earnest, that this country belongs to all of us. Somebody cannot become this. I don't know. Assuming Buhari as the Minister for Petroleum now, before that, he's talking now. Who is calling to order? And the National Assembly are watching everything. How can the president become the president of the country and the minister of any sector? It is not acceptable. There is no country in the world that is ever done. He should choose between being a minister for petroleum and becoming the president. Because any minister for education, it is the duty of the president to call him to order. The National Assembly should call him to order. But assuming the minister for petroleum as the president is now, as he is defaulting, who is the calling for us?
Nobody.
Look at what is happening. Yes, you will always go to any group of person or persons because the EFCC is in our presidency. They should not be the eligible it's not for the presidency of the governors. Any group of persons that embezzle public funds should be the law. And the National Assembly should not be watching the presidency. Come with infinity, action significant to the development of the nation.
All right, thank you.
In the next dispensation, I advocate that the presidency should be removed of any ministry. It should be free by ordinary laymen and ready to work. The president is confused over the matters.
All right, thank you so much. Thank you. I'm sorry, we have to go.
They should allow the other side of the country to rule.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Chukuma.
The point you have made.
All right, thank you.
This was a.
Thank you.
President Muhammadu Buhari, taking over the office of the Minister of Petroleum. There was a president. Obasanjo made his Minister of Petroleum. Aberration. Do you understand that? All the aberrations perpetrated by Obasanjo, Buhari is perfecting them. Just go and check the records. He's perfecting them. Right. So you see, it's wrong. You can't be president and Minister of Petroleum. It's not necessary. You don't have time to supervise the ministry. And you see, you have Minister of State for petroleum. He has limited powers. There are decisions he cannot take without the president. He may take the Minister of State 1 whole month to access the president. Do you see where the problem is? Yeah. So it's not even as if he can just carry his files, That Silva, Minister of State for Petroleum, ask him, you're a journalist, how often does he access Buhari as his principal. Because as the Minister of Petroleum, there are things he has to clear with him before he takes certain decisions. And he cannot access the president. This is the problem. So he may end up taking instructions from either the chief of staff, somebody like that, principal secretary. At the end of the day, the president can still deny you because he never really signed off for all those things. It's an aberration. It's partly why the crisis is persisting in the sector.
Let's take it now to the issue you
talked about reciprocity.
Yes, you said that them sidelining the president is what makes the president maintain neutrality. So the question now is the issue of to quote the presidential candidate Emilio Kong. It is my turn.
This is his turn.
So to say my turn means that there was also a turn for someone else, and that is the point that is being made here, that he paid his dues, he did his parts, and now it is his time. Let's take a look.
And it was duly compensated.
Let's take a listen. Let's just take a listen to his comments in Edo State, where he is talking to someone. He doesn't seem to mention names, but he's talking to someone and he says this person is not his God. So let's listen to that and let's see what he could have been talking about.
Don't get angry. Anger does not solve problem. Disappointment is an energizer for me. When you disappoint me, I work harder. You betray me, I don't get angry, I ignore you. Why? Because you are not my God. You are not my creator. And God has taught me.
All right, welcome back. So what do you make of those comments? Do you think he feels betrayed? He mentioned that someone betraying him, someone getting him angry. We don't know who that is. But as it is, do you think some original agreements has perhaps been shattered?
I really don't think so. And I believe that, yes, Tinubu helped the president a lot because by bringing the Southwest votes, to the table, it helped the president to emerge in 2015. But he was sufficiently compensated.
How so?
I'll tell you. Okay. You see, Tinubu would have been on that ticket as the running mate of Buhari if he were a Christian. Do you understand that? And when that couldn't fly because well-meaning Nigerians said, look, Muslim ticket, perish the thought. Tinubu was asked to bring a replacement for himself. And he brought his former Attorney General when he was governor of Lagos State, Professor Yemi Osinbajo. Osinbajo couldn't have been Buhari's choice. Nobody knew anything about Osinbajo before he was announced. He was put there by Tinubu. That is a level of compensation. And if you check choice ministries, he's men. In fact, somebody like Fashola had to run 3 ministries in one. Power, work, housing, an amalgam, he became a super minister and collapsed under the weight of the ministry, delivering nothing. In fact, in power, he delivered more darkness. Even though he told us before APC won that it would take just 6 months to fix the power sector. Till today, we haven't exceeded 5,000 megawatts in terms of distribution. So if you look at the main revenue generator, or collector in Nigeria. That is FIRS. Fowler, one of his henchmen, was the one that ran the place for about 5 years or more. So you can see that Tinubu has been taken care of sufficiently. And of course, himself at his level, couldn't have, been a minister. I would be surprised if Tinubu would want to become a minister today. I don't think he will have time to attend to it. So he can only be compensated by proxy. Those he wanted got everything they needed. And you see, what else could the president have done to appreciate what he did? He gave him the number 2 spot, vice president of the country. That is compensation, which himself couldn't take up directly. In fact, he wanted to run with a Febuary, as Muslim ticket. It was the likes of Saraki and others that rose to the occasion and say, you can't do this. And incurred their wrath. In fact, Tinubu and Saraki, I'm not sure they say good morning up till now because of that. He believed that the likes of Saraki stopped him from running with Tinubu. And down the line, 8 years down the line, he is repeating that Muslim ticket. So for him to say any local, to imply that there was a gentlemanly agreement that after Buhari should be him, maybe local. Well, I don't know. For me, an agreement of that nature for an office that is not a prerogative of APC as a political party, because you have other political parties. You have the PDP that has been in power for 16 years and, positioning itself to return and riding on the terrible performance of the APC federal government. Do you understand that? So, for you to say local is as if the office of the president is there for your asking. There are several factors the party needed to put into consideration. Yes, if they must move south, there are things. It must not be Tinubu, as a matter of fact. Maybe you differ to him, to again still nominate. And I don't see why, Tinubu shouldn't have preferred somebody like Osibajo to himself. Because Osibajo has, he has health on his side. He has religion on his side. He has several other factors on his side. But he said, Tinubu says, it is me, I, or highway. It is a problem. So, if he's pushing it that the president has betrayed him and he can only call the president, if that is what he implies there, for me, it's not really fair. You get the point? Yes, ordinarily, the president should be the chief campaigner for his party's presidential candidate. I agree, but I've already given you the reason why, if I were Buhari, I would do exactly what he is doing. You are a governor. You choose your own successor. There is no governor in Nigeria, without exception, that didn't choose his own successor all around the country. Why shouldn't that same right of first refusal be extended to the president by his own party? That is the issue here. But you see, what you have is an elite conspiracy, and it has nothing to do with the masses or the electors or even the country. They do this because they come together as, and what you find in politics generally is what you may call concentric circles of conspiracies. By political conspirators, what is their aim? Just one thing: capture of state power, nothing else. What they do with it after capturing it is something else. They treat power as an end in itself, not a means to an end. And that is why we are in this quagmire, because our leaders have not captured state power to be able to deliver what you may call greater, happiness, for a greater number of citizens. It's not their aim. That is not their aim at all.
Let's talk about that now. My initial question was, the comments by some politicians is giving the impression that, and they're doing it openly, which is where I am a little bit confused. They are saying openly that, this period of time close to election, things should be better. as though that is what they do, as though is this unspoken rule that as politicians in government, once the time for election is there, let's just put a good face on everything and just ride that wave.
That's the way
I wonder if they should be admitting that. So the question now is, how do you think these hardships, these issues we have that Nigerians are facing close to the election, how do you think it will affect the elections? Do you think
well, for me, it will take somebody who is, really sick to vote for APC. I'm sorry to say this, because you can't go through this kind of hardship and you are looking in the direction of the same political party. If APC has fielded, somebody with a salvific, qualities, do you understand that? Messianic qualities, somebody who, a disruptor, somebody who will be the opposite of Buhari, the political party will not matter. But we are now saddled with Tinubu, who is only shouting Ebiloko. He hasn't even said anything about what he's going to do. That is your turn. The only other thing I've had Tinubu say again is that he will continue from where Buhari stops. That to me is an existential threat. So why shouldn't Nigerians worry about this suffering at the polls? They should worry about it. Why, ask yourself, how come the APC is not running on the achievements of their own political party? Do you understand that? They've been there, they've been there for 8 years. They took over from the PDP and they told us that, look, things will get better. Power, give us 6 months. Naira to dollar Naira will become 1 Naira to $1. They gave us all these things, right? Now, what do you have? A bag of rice from 8,000 to 40,000? Fuel from 97 Naira to 300 Naira? Naira from 190 or 197 to 750? Inflation from single digit to 22%. Just look all around. Everything about Nigeria is upside down. So, in fact, even the president himself has confessed that he is overwhelmed and eagerly looks forward to returning to Daura, far away from Abuja. I agree with him. If we have fuel, we will help in escorting the president to Daura.
Hello.
That's interesting. All right. Good afternoon. This is Mr. Mohammed, right?
Yes, I'm back.
All right. Thank you for calling back. Please go ahead.
Are you with me?
Yes, go ahead.
I was talking about the issue of Naira redesigning.
All right. Please, you have a minute, so please be quick.
Okay. If Mr. President is in good position, why he didn't redesign the Naira before 2019 general election? Why? Because at that time he's going to be favored. You understand? So, and now he wants to tarnish the favor of in favor of Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu. And let me tell you something. Our guest is talking, but not only Asiwaju is saying Emilio Kon. Here in Kaduna, Dino Melai in Kaduna and Gombe, with Atiku Abubakar, he is talking to people in the north that Namu means don't vote anyone. This one is a northerner, and even Atiku himself, our commentator, I want you to understand this. Here in Kaduna, he says that don't vote Igbo or Yoruba. So not only Asiwaju is saying Emilio Kon, and let me put it in Peter Obi's way. Even Peter Obi, he is not campaigning deeply here in the north. And even if he comes to the north deeply, he is going to where the Christians and Igbos are situated mainly. Let me tell you something. Let me tell you this. That's what is going on. And again, this Asiwaju, President Buhari, now he's in Kano now. but people boycotted him completely because our people here in the north, we are looking at President Muhammad Buhari is the one that is sabotaging everything. And let me tell you, if Ashwaju is coming to Kano tomorrow, people will come out. I'm telling you.
All right, thank you so much. Thank you so much. I'm sorry, we have to go now.
You know,
Mr. Mohammed, we've actually run out of time,
Okay,
Dr. Law. This will be a topic for another day.
Yes.
Thank you so much. We've run out of time now. We can't take any more. But this was really interesting, and thank you so much for breaking it down and for your perspective. Thank you so much.
Thank
all right, that's all we can take on the program. Do join us every weekday, 2 p.m. to 3:30 p.m. for the Polity. That's all we can take for today's edition. Join us tomorrow and all across the week, and for the rest of the year, we'll be here to bring you discussions on politics and governance. Have a nice day. I am Amadi Nuberi.